What's up, guys? It is your boy FastLaneD, and today we got my girl Ivy out and about. If you don't know, that is my 2011 Harley Davidson V Rod muscle. Now, a common question I do get asked is, what is a good starter bike? So today we're going to talk about whether this V Rod muscle is a good candidate as a first bike. But before we get going, y'all know it's time for my favorite part of the day, the cold start. Yeah. Coolest thing I do love about this thing is no key is needed. Man, coming from a sport bike, that is a godsend. Y'all know we got the tab performance exhaust on there. Yeah, baby. I hear bald eagle. I see him. I hear him. Just listen to her. Let's cue the intro, baby. Whoa! This bike. The question of the day is the V Rod muscle a good starter bike? Now this is a very loaded question. Oh, listen to those pops. There's a lot to consider when you are buying your first bike. Unfortunately, a lot of riders are going to base off of the looks. No matter what advice you give them, they're not going to listen. So for my stubborn people out there, this video is for you, because I'm right there with you. Now, are there better bikes to get as your first bike? Hell yes, there are tons of other bikes that are better suited for a beginner. But if you just love that fat tire on the back of the V Rod muscle, if you love the sound of those bald eagles when this thing is at full throttle, if you love the aggressive seating position of this bike, there's probably a high chance that the V Rod is at the top of your list. And picking a first bike, there's not just one bike that everyone should start on. Everyone is so different, and it really should be based on a case-by-case scenario when making that recommendation for someone on a first bike. I'd really recommend going into a dealership and talking with someone that knows what they're talking about when considering your first bike. Now for me, I started on a 600cc sport bike. It was a 2001 Honda CBR F4i, and that thing was a piece of junk, but I loved it so much just because it was my first motorcycle. Now, the reason why I was able to successfully start on a 600cc bike was because I had owned a 50cc scooter before. So I was comfortable being on two wheels on the road, with having trucks pass me, cars pass me, merging into major roads with an underpowered vehicle. So I was more than comfortable being on two wheels on the road. I'd also had a manual transmission vehicle for 6 years, so shifting gears and using the clutch and all that stuff was nothing new to me. I was comfortable doing that, and I was comfortable being on two wheels. So for me, it was just a matter of, am I comfortable with the power that a 600cc bike was going to give me? And no matter how many videos I watched saying not to start on a 600 bike, I was like, I can do it. And I have a feeling you're probably the same way. Now this bike is not as quick as a 600cc sport bike is, but it can definitely keep up. I've raced the 600cc bikes, and the V Rod can definitely hold its own. That V-twin is not made for its up high power, definitely for its low end torque. So from about 0 to 60, dare I say 80, this bike can definitely keep up neck and neck with those bikes. But once you get into the triple digits, this bike's just too heavy. It doesn't have the horsepower up top, and it's not aerodynamic enough to keep up with those bikes. But around town, you're not really going that fast. Now, this V Rod Muscle is definitely not a slouch. It's definitely a quick bike that'll get the job done with that down low torque. Now, an awesome thing about the sport bikes is that they're super light. Alright, so they're a lot easier to maneuver around. The V Rod Muscle, this thing definitely is not light, and you can feel the weight when you're moving it around, let's say a driveway, or you're riding it at slow speeds. It's definitely a heavy bike. I think it's around like 800 or 900 pounds, whatever it weighs. I'll pop up on the screen here, and then I'll compare it to my first bike, which was a FOI. So slow speed maneuvers, it definitely takes a little more skill to ride this bike versus a lighter bike. And your first bike ideally would be something that looks good, something that is easy to ride, something that encourages you to get out on two wheels and ride safely, something that you don't get bored with after owning it for a little bit because it's super slow. Like I said, there's just not a perfect bike or a one-size-fits-all bike for everyone. So is the V Rod Muscle a good beginner bike, a good bike to start on? It depends. Yes and no. For some people, they'd be okay starting on this bike, but it's not the ideal bike. There are definitely better bikes to start on than the V Rod Muscle. Now, my favorite thing about the V Rod is this. Yeah, let's go, baby. I have a Yamaha R1, and that bike is insane, but I have just as much fun in this bike as I do on the R1, and this bike does not feel underpowered to me at all. I still respect the power of this bike as much as I respect the power of the R1. And the thing with the 1000cc liter bikes is that when you go riding on those bikes, you have to be on it, because that bike is just so powerful and not forgiving that if you don't respect the power of that bike, you will definitely feel the repercussions of that. Now with this bike, you can actually go out, relax, and cruise on and be comfortable for a little bit. So in that aspect, yes, this bike can be a good bike to start on. Also, the V Rod Muscles are not cheap. Those sport bikes, especially the 600cc sport bikes, you can get those for dirt cheap. You can get some bikes for $1,500. I think for my bike, I paid just over $2,000, like $2,300 or $2,200 for that bike. Finding a V Rod for that price, good luck. Also, since they don't make these bikes anymore, parts are hard to come by. And it may be a little bit more to maintain these bikes in some aspects, and you may have some wait times with trying to find some parts for these bikes, unless you can find like a salvage one somewhere. Also, there's a very high chance that you're going to drop your first bike. I dropped my first bike, but it didn't matter because it was already a piece of crap. So when I dropped it, it was just kind of like, oh, well, that sucks. Let's just pick it up and keep riding. With this bike, if I dropped it, I definitely might shed a tear. Not even gonna flex on you guys. Now I know there's some people in the comments being like, oh, I've never dropped a bike before, Dylan. And good for you, I'm proud of you. With dropping a bike, it's not a matter of if, it's more of a matter of when. So I hate to burst your bubble, but it's probably gonna happen at some point. Now to answer the question, should you buy a Harley Davidson V Rod Muscle as your first bike? Yes, you can. And I get it, look, if you are just enticed by that rear tire, that fat, thick, juicy rear tire, if you love how this bike looks, how this bike sounds, the aggressive sitting position it puts you in so that you look like freaking Batman riding down the road, I get it. And you just can't say no to that urge. Yes, it can be done. You can start on this bike. Is it the best beginner bike out there? No, it's not. But like I said, I get why someone would want to start on this bike. Now, if you've had experience on two wheels on the road, let's say a scooter or like a dirt bike, if you've done a lot of dirt bike riding and you have a lot of experience working with a clutch in a car on a manual transmission, then yes, those factors are going to put you in a better position to be successful starting on a bike like this. So yes, it can be done, but should it be done? There's definitely better options out there. I can only speak to my experiences. I'm just some random guy on YouTube. This bike has been phenomenal for me. I love this V Rod. It's fun to ride. It's easy to ride for me versus my R1. I can actually go on a relaxing cruise, and it just looks phenomenal. I don't really have any complaints for this bike. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Make sure y'all smash that like button, baby. Hit that subscribe. Join the Fast Lane squad. Don't skip those ads, because we are monetized now, which means we can start doing some cooler stuff with the channel. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. FastLaneD's out. Peace.